Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Gina from Her Cosmic Crown, and today we are going to talk about the great benefic Jupiter. There are more malefic planets than there are benefic planets. In Vedic astrology, we actually prefer the word gentle versus benefic and cruel versus malefic because no planets are really mean. They don't have like a mean intention, but their effects can be cruel or their effects can be more gentle. For example, we have Saturn, Rahu, which is the north node of the moon, Ketu, which is the south node of the moon. We have Mars and the Sun, which are all cruel planets. And we have the benefics, which are Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. And the moon is sometimes gentle and sometimes cruel because it is waxing when it is gentle and it is cruel when it is waning. So only half of the time is the moon gentle. This exemplifies that life can be cruel. You know, life is not super easy for us. If we are born into this world, we are going to face a lot of hardships. But the good thing about it is that we are resilient, we are able to overcome those hardships, but there are a lot of lessons in this life. And so the reason why I want to touch on Jupiter is because it is really hard to live in this life, and it's so nice to have a planet that is so good that gives us these great qualities. And we can look at certain placements with Jupiter in our charts, and we can look at the houses in which Jupiter is really benefiting us and providing that good karma. And depending on our past lifetimes, we are reaping certain good karmas this lifetime if you believe in past lives. Jupiter is that planet of goodness that springs forth from within us. We all have goodness within us. We all have this dark side of us as well. But Jupiter is that goodness that springs forth from us. And I'm not talking about the goodness where we are being charitable and then we are posting all of the good stuff that we're doing. No, it's this goodness that we don't have to display necessarily to other people. And we do it because we are good. We're doing it for the sake of goodness. Now, keep in mind, goodness doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean that we are perfect people. And a person with a solid Jupiter in their chart, it doesn't mean that they are perfect. It doesn't mean that. It just means that the goodness within them, they are able to share it with the world, and they are able to forgive themselves and others. They're able to be at peace. And Jupiter is the planet of truth. So a person has enough truth, enough wisdom to understand that, hey, we all make mistakes. There are not so good qualities about me and other people, but that's okay. You know, we are here to learn and find our truth and our purpose and share that with other people. And Jupiter, having a solid Jupiter in our charts, is about that deep understanding of why we are doing something. So we can do something that may not be seen as good to other people, but if we understand why we are doing that, and it's for a deeper reason that we view as good, then that is what Jupiter is about. Sometimes we can do a bad thing, but it's overall good. Jupiter is about seeing the bigger picture. We may have to let go of an employee because we feel like that person's not a good fit. And that can be seen as a bad thing to let go of someone. But if we see the bigger picture, like, hey, you can actually do better and thrive if you're doing something else than being stuck here. So we have to look at the big picture, and having a good Jupiter really helps us see the big picture in life. Nothing can contain Jupiter's goodness, the blessings from Jupiter. And Jupiter represents lightning, it's Indra, and it's that spark of goodness. And you know, when we have a solid Jupiter in our charts, a lot of times we get this spark of inspiration that just comes to us. So if you're like a musician, you can get that spark of inspiration when it comes to music, like, oh, I have an idea for a chorus. and it just comes to you. And so that spark is something that comes and then it can go. So you got to grab it when you can. Jupiter represents a plethora of things in our natal charts. And one of the things that Jupiter represents is creativity. Jupiter is such a creative planet. Jupiter also represents children because children are created. And it also represents a spouse in a woman's chart. Jupiter is our purpose. We look at the placement of Jupiter to see what our purpose is in life. Jupiter is wealth, okay? Jupiter is actual fortune, wealth, and charity as well. So we can give charity to others when we have wealth. And Jupiter represents gurus as well. Jupiter also represents spirituality, philosophy, religion, and those things help us have a deeper understanding, and they help us navigate this cruel but also beautiful world that we live in. Keep in mind as you are watching this video that Jupiter can have its limitations. Jupiter can be a bit off balance in our natal charts, especially if it's with Saturn, with Ketu, with Rahu, or if there's a deep affliction to our Jupiter and our Jupiter is ashamed. And that's kind of more involved to discuss. But, if there are some heavy things going on with our Jupiter, it can really affect the way our Jupiter is able to shine through us. It's gonna kind of skew the way our goodness is flowing through us. At the same time, Jupiter is that benefic. It is that beautiful planet in our chart that really blesses us, if you will. I will be providing explanations from my perspective of Jupiter as it goes through that different houses. And just keep that in mind. If you do have some afflictions to your Jupiter, it will kind of skew your Jupiter a bit. First, how do you find Jupiter in your astrological chart? To find the house your Jupiter is in, you'll need your correct birth time because our time of birth indicates where the houses fall in our charts. Please visit the website in the description box below to generate your South Indian natal chart. Next, enter your birth information, and in your chart you'll find two thin diagonal lines next to each other in a particular sign. Those lines represent your ascendant, or the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the exact moment you were born. If Jupiter is in the same sign as your ascendant, then great. This means that Jupiter is in your first house. But if Jupiter is not on the ascendant, count how many houses, represented by squares, away Jupiter is from the first house by counting the first house first. Keep in mind that I practice whole sign and whole house Vedic astrology. Please see the example. In the example, the ascendant is in the sign of Capricorn, abbreviated CP. And if we count the first house as number 1, then the second house from the ascendant is Aquarius. The third house from the ascendant is Pisces. The fourth house from the ascendant is Aries. And the fifth house from the ascendant is Taurus. In other words, we have Jupiter, abbreviated JU, in the fifth house. If you are a bit confused, the house cusp numbers that you see in most or all of the signs or squares may or may not correspond with the house Jupiter is in from the ascendant using the whole sign, whole house method. In our example, Jupiter doesn't have a house cusp, and that's okay. In some charts, there may be more than one house cusp in a sign or none at all. We use house cusps for predictions. So for the sake of this exercise, we are counting houses from the ascendant to see the personality traits of Jupiter from the ascendant. I think I've talked enough about Jupiter for now. Let's get into the specifics of how your Jupiter placement can shine a light on your purpose, joy, luck, and all other good things in life. Jupiter in the first house. Jupiter in the first house has what's called Digbala, which is directional strength. So Each planet has the most strength in different houses, and Jupiter happens to have the most strength in the first house. So what does the first house represent? The first house represents the path that we're on. It represents our body. It represents our self. It represents the person. And we can tell a lot about how life is going to be, or how life is for a person, based on their first house. If life is going to be really tough for them, or or if maybe they'll have a smooth path. So Jupiter on the ascendant is beautiful. It really helps a person have a lot more joy on their path. It gives them more purpose, and it gives them just more direction in life. It's really, really nice. And a person can appear lucky because what Jupiter can do, it can avert negative things from really falling on our paths, right? So by having Jupiter on our ascendant, it can really help us not, have this tragic thing happen in our lives. Jupiter can also, help with a person's health, their physical health, right? And it can give a person wisdom to know, okay, maybe I shouldn't be eating so much sweets right now, right? Or maybe I should start exercising a bit. So it can really help a person have that wisdom when it comes to their health and even the path that they're on. And it can give a person a lot of creativity. So a person can be creative, and they can just have just this creative spark about them. And as they're walking on their path in life, they just have more creativity that flows through them, and they can also just be more joyful. They can just have more joy about them. And Jupiter is a masculine planet, so it can help a person do more in life, do more good things, do more, have more actions that are good and that flow through them. Also, Jupiter in the first house can help a person kind of flow in the direction of wealth. So it can really help a person have more wealth on their path, because they have that wisdom of like, okay, this is where I can get a hold of wealth. Jupiter in the second house. So the second house represents family, getting our needs met, right? Getting what we need when we need it. So it can be a money house. The second house is naturally ruled by Taurus. So a person with Jupiter in the second house, they can be lucky when it comes to money, right? They can be very resourceful people. They can just have that wisdom of knowing, hey, this is where I need to go in order to get my needs met. And that can include financial needs. And also a person with this can really benefit from their family. They can, really benefit in some way from their family. They can come from like a good solid family, and that really helps them in life as well. So a person's contribution to the world may have to do with their family or finances, or taking some kind of responsibilities in life. That can be a big purpose for that person. And also Jupiter, also the second house has to do with our five senses. So a person can really benefit from their five senses. They might be into cooking or enjoying food. They can be like a food critic or something like that. They can get money from something that has to do with food or their five senses, or smelling. Maybe it has to do with perfume or something like that. So Jupiter in the second house is also nice when it comes to the material world, because the second house is very much a house of material security. Jupiter in the third house. The third house has to do with skills, putting our energy and effort into something, And the third house also has to do with our siblings, teammates. It's also the house of short distance travel, right? It's naturally ruled by Gemini. So having Jupiter in the third house, a person can really benefit from maybe their siblings. They can benefit from also short distance traveling. Maybe their job has to do with driving and traveling short distances, so they get money that way. The third house has to do with our skills, like I mentioned. So a person can really have good luck when it comes to using their hands. They can be maybe a craftsman of some sort. They can be an artisan. Maybe they're into languages or communication. They can really benefit from marketing, social media. They can make money off of those type of things, and any kind of skill that they have, honestly. So you can really have a lot of skills and benefit financially from your skills, since Jupiter is the planet of money. This is the house that has to do with putting your effort into something and putting a lot of energy into something. So you can really benefit from, you know, doing something and growing your talent and your skills. And so with Jupiter there, you can really grow your skills in some kind of way. Maybe you're a writer, and that brings you a lot of joy and happiness, and you're able to, that goodness can flow through you. Jupiter in the fourth house. The fourth house represents the mother. It represents the home. It represents our feelings, our emotions, our happiness. So a person with Jupiter in the fourth house, it can really add happiness to a person. It can really add that extra sense of joy. So Jupiter is the planet of joy, and then so is the fourth house, you know, as long as it's not afflicted. So Jupiter being dropped in the fourth house is beautiful. It's great for adding happiness and joy in a person's life, and the wisdom of knowing that even though not everything is going perfectly in my life, there's still some joy flowing through me. So it's beautiful to have that. A person with Jupiter in the fourth house can also benefit from their mother somehow. And planets in the fourth house can either indicate real estate. Those tend to be more of the cruel planets, or if it's more of a gentle planet, it can indicate fortune, monetary fortune. And Jupiter is also the planet of finances, wealth. So a person with this can be fortunate enough to have a fortune in some way. But the fourth house also represents real estate. So a person may make money from real estate somehow. Maybe they sell a home and make some money from that, or they could be in the real estate business as well. But I really see Jupiter a lot of times also with having to do with wealth or some kind of fortune that they receive. And that could be from the mother even, because like I said, the fourth house represents the mother. And the fourth house is a hidden house. So a person can have a fortune that they don't even know about. And it doesn't have to be like a material thing necessarily, because the fourth house is a moksha house. It's a house of spirituality. So a person can have this kind of quiet divine wisdom flowing through them, and that could be their treasure. Jupiter in the fifth house. The fifth house represents children. It represents our self-expression, our creativity, our inspiration. It's naturally ruled by Leo. So the fifth house is a very consistent house. So a person can be very consistent with the planets that are in there in general. So a person with Jupiter in the fifth house, they can be consistent with, you know, what gives them joy, what gives them purpose. And the fifth house represents children, and so does Jupiter. A person with Jupiter in the fifth can find joy and purpose when it comes to kids. So they can have, you know, children, and those children give them purpose. Those children give them life. They give them inspiration. And a person with this may or may not do something big in the world, but those children give them purpose in their life somehow. So a person with this can be even a school teacher. A person with this can even be more on the creative side as well. So a person can really feel inspired, to allow that creative self-expression to flow through them. They might really find inspiration when it comes to acting and showcasing their self-expression in a way. Very creative people, extremely creative, and they want to share that with the world. So you can have great luck when it comes to self-expression somehow, and that could be through theater or some kind of creativity like painting, or maybe you're a content creator on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or something like that, and that creativity flows through you, and you can make money from that because people love to see creative people. That inspires them, and so you will make money. You can really do well when it comes to your creative self-expression. That also includes the way you dress. Maybe the way you dress is very unique, and that you get benefit from the way you look somehow, and the way you express yourself and your creative expression. Maybe others find you attractive somehow, and you make money off of the way you look. Your self-expression is tied to how attractive a person is, so you can maybe benefit from the way you attract others. Jupiter in the 6th house. So the 6th house has to do with worldly problems, right? The worldly problems that we have to work on. The 6th house is a material house. It's naturally ruled by Virgo, so there can be rewards with the 6th house, but often that comes after the fact that we are putting effort into that, because the 6th house has to do with debt, sickness, health issues, and the drudgery of life, right? Paying the bills, making the phone calls, those kind of things. Those are 6th house issues. So Jupiter in the 6th house can give a person wisdom when it comes to dealing with worldly problems. It helps them see an expanded picture of, hey, I have to do these worldly problems. I have to solve these worldly problems. I have to do these things. And then that can really help them kind of see the bigger picture and why they are having to focus on worldly issues. And it can give them luck when it comes to enemies at times as well, because the 6th house is the house of enemies. So it can help a person have more wisdom when it comes to combating their enemies. The 6th house is also the house of service, doing some kind of service for others. And a person with Jupiter in the 6th can really help them gain from doing some kind of service for others, providing a service, and helping others. Also, the 6th house is the house of improvements. Whatever planets we have in the 6th house improve as we get older. So Jupiter in the 6th can help a person really have the wisdom to make self-improvements, and they can be a person who really wants to improve themselves and really improve other people. So they can put a lot of energy into improving themselves, and as they improve themselves, more of that goodness will flow through them, and it'll flow through them and it'll flow through others as they provide a service to other people. Jupiter in the 7th house. So the 7th house has to do with relationships and also the public and foreign places as well. So a person with Jupiter in the 7th house can really benefit from their partner, their spouse, their relationships. Jupiter in the 7th can also help a person be famous. If a person is looking to be famous, Jupiter in the 7th house can really help that. Even if you don't want to be famous, Jupiter in the 7th house can help a person be famous. And this is because the 7th house has to do with the public, and there's your joy, your luck, your purpose has something to do with the public somehow. You may be reaping some good fortune from the public. And also the 7th house is the house of foreign places, so you can really find your fortune when it comes to traveling abroad, and you can maybe get noticed traveling abroad, whereas maybe being wherever you're from, you don't really get noticed. But if you go abroad, people start noticing you, and maybe you can get famous in a foreign place, or maybe you're doing some kind of trade, because the 7th house is naturally ruled by Libra, so it's a house of trade. So you can really benefit from trading with the public somehow, or doing international trade. So Jupiter in the 7th house is really good for those things. Jupiter in the 8th house. The 8th house represents other people's money, particularly money from the spouse, because it is second from the 7th house. The 7th house represents our spouse, and it is the second placement from the 7th, which would be our spouse's money. Also, the 8th house rules taboo topics. It rules death. It rules the occult, such as astrology, tarot, I Ching, all of those kind of topics. The 8th house rules. It rules battles as well. So Jupiter in the 8th house, a person can really benefit from their spouse. They can get money from their spouse, inheritances from their spouse, or they can get inheritances from dead people, since 8th house is the house of death. It is also the house of psychological transformation. So a person with Jupiter in the 8th house can have the luck of having these huge transformations in their lives. The 8th house is naturally ruled by Scorpio. So a person can get really involved in psychology or astrology that helps to really transform their lives in a positive way, so they can benefit from those things. And then people with Jupiter in the 8th house, people tend to give them money when they need it. They tend to get what they need when they need it, and they get it from others. Maybe your purpose has to do with the occult, or dealing with death. Maybe you can be a bereavement counselor, or you can be a necromancer, or your wisdom comes from death or these occult topics somehow, and you can get money from those things. Jupiter in the 9th house. The 9th house represents our parents. It represents our culture and our belief system, and a lot of our beliefs come from our parents too. So that's why the 9th house represents our parents. 9th house represents long distance travel. So a person with Jupiter in the 9th house can really benefit from long distance travel somehow, especially when it comes to enhancing their beliefs and their knowledge somehow. Jupiter in the 9th may have to do with being a teacher, and being a teacher of some kind of philosophy or spiritual wisdom, or even religion as well. So a person can have a lot of wisdom when it comes to those topics and be able to teach them. They can also be in higher learning, right? So they can be in higher education. They can do something with that. And so their purpose is revolving around wisdom, knowledge, higher education. You could have really benefited from the advice from your parents, and that can help you be kind of, this sage in a way. Jupiter in the 10th house. So the 10th house has to do with our dharma, or our actions. It's also the house of our career. It's the house of our father as well. So you can really benefit from your father somehow. Also, you can benefit from your actions. Maybe you take the right actions, you do the right things, and you reap the karma and the benefits from doing those right things. And you can be lucky in your career. So things fall into place for you when it comes to your career. You can be very ambitious. You can make money from your career, and you can just find a career that is right for you. And you can be lucky when it comes to leadership positions, because the 10th house represents leadership positions. So you can take the lead and you can carry a heavy load, because the 10th house is our responsibilities, our obligations. So you can really benefit from your responsibilities and obligations. You can get something back from them. And your purpose, your knowledge in life has to do with your careers and the path that you are on for the long term. So whatever path that you're consistently on, you really benefit from that, and other people benefit from that as well. Jupiter in the 11th house. The 11th house represents money from our career, gains that we have, titles, recognition, degrees, our social network, groups, all of those good things. With Jupiter in the 11th house, a person can be really seen as someone lucky when it comes to benefiting financially from their career, getting lots of respect and titles, and their social life can be really nice. It can be, they can get a lot of joy from their social life, because the 11th house is naturally ruled by Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign, which is a social sign. So their social life can really flourish with Jupiter in the 11th house, and other people may like them and give them awards, and they can really shine this lifetime, and they can get the recognition that they somehow deserve. Somehow you get the recognition for your hard work, for the work that you do, for your actions, and you receive titles and degrees perhaps, and all of that good stuff. And you can really benefit from your social network as well. Maybe you don't know someone directly who can maybe give you a job that you want, but maybe you know someone who can give you that job that you're looking for. So you can really benefit from other people, and you can really benefit from your social network in that way, and that's a beautiful thing. Jupiter in the 12th house. The 12th house represents confinement. Actually, it represents confined spaces, such as jails, prisons, hospitals, even libraries, places of research, and so it also represents our ancestors, the 12th house. The 12th house is a moksha house, so it's a house of liberation. So it's a house of being free, and it's naturally ruled by Pisces. And it's a very spiritual house. And the 12th house is also a house of escapism, escaping more of our material responsibilities, basically. A person with Jupiter in the 12th house, they can be lucky when it comes to escaping their material responsibilities. Maybe they have luck when it comes to vacations, or they can find joy when it comes to vacations and escaping somehow, escaping through whatever means they escape through. So that can be through watching movies, or even through plant medicines and finding, higher knowledge and wisdom through plant medicines possibly. Or a person with this can even benefit from working at a jail or a hospital. They can get money and means through that source, and then they can find joy in that. Even if they are confined, they can even find joy in researching and being a researcher of some sort, being a librarian. A person with this can find joy and wisdom through studying their ancestors, or maybe they receive something from their ancestors. And if they're interested in with their ancestors and doing work with their ancestors, they can benefit from genealogy. They can really benefit from really analyzing the patterns and systems in their genealogy chart. So this can be a very spiritual house. A person can find moksha, possibly. They can find enlightenment with this house, and they can find spiritual liberation. Also, you can benefit from ashrams, because ashrams are places of confinement where people often go to have that spiritual connection. It is the 12th house because it is being free of material obligations. So people who have the fate of being yogis and being, going to an ashram, being a monk of some sort, they don't have the same material responsibilities as most of us who have to work and grind. Some people with this also may be confined in jail, but they have the luck of not being responsible materially speaking, having to go to work. They don't have to work for their room or board, basically. And so yes, they're imprisoned, but they are also benefiting from being in prison, so they can find enlightenment in the prison. You're behind bars, but you're more free behind bars. And some people get their education, lots of wisdom while they're behind bars. It's kind of like the hangman card, where the person's hanging upside down, and you have no choice but to look at things from a different perspective, because you are stuck, you are confined, there's nothing you can do. But you can find a lot of wisdom when you are hanging upside down and you're still, and you're not having to go to work and all of those things. They may be free from a lot of their material obligations depending on their whole chart, and they can really benefit and find purpose when it comes to escaping somehow, and they can be spiritually connected people. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with others, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.